What would you do if your daughter ran into a crowded auditorium in the middle of a $1 million investor presentation and the CEO of the company picked her up like she was his own? That's exactly what happened to Olivia Bennett, a single mom who had already defied every odd just to land a job at one of the most prestigious tech firms in the country. She walked into the interview room carrying her 3-year-old daughter, was humiliated in front of a room full of professionals, and still somehow caught the attention of the company's mysterious CEO, Ethan Caldwell. But what started as a professional gamble quickly spiraled into something far more complicated: a rising career shadowed by office gossip, a powerful romance quietly blooming behind closed doors, and a dangerous past that suddenly returned with a single phone call. A call from the man she had run from years ago. Stay with us, because what unfolds next is not just a story about survival or success. It's about a woman forced to choose between silence and truth, and the man who stood by her when the past tried to destroy everything. And by the end, you'll see why love isn't asked for, it's built. Women in sharp suits with crisp resumes and polished smiles whispered behind their hands. One in particular, with sleek blonde hair and an expensive watch, leaned in just enough to be heard. "Seriously, you brought a kid to this interview?" Olivia tightened her arms around Lily, who rested her sleepy head on her mother's shoulder. She didn't reply. She didn't flinch. She just kept rocking her daughter gently, pretending the comment didn't slice straight into her nerves. The receptionist forced a tight smile. "Miss, are you sure you don't want to reschedule? These interviews can last 2 hours or more." "I can't," Olivia answered, voice steady despite the crack she felt inside. "My sitter canceled last minute. I need this job." The woman's eyebrows arched just enough to signal judgment before she turned back to her screen. Olivia took a seat far away from the others, ignoring their smirks. Lily stirred in her arms. "Mommy, I'm thirsty," the little girl mumbled. Olivia fumbled through her worn handbag, accidentally spilling a few papers on the floor. Whispered chuckles floated through the room. Her fingers trembled as she picked them up: old college transcripts, online certification printouts, a letter of recommendation from a former professor who barely remembered her name. She almost stood up and walked out. "Candidate number 8, Olivia Bennett," the receptionist called. Olivia swallowed hard. The room fell quiet. Every pair of eyes followed her like lasers as she walked toward the door, holding Lily tight against her chest. "Good luck," someone muttered behind her, sarcastically. She pushed the door open, expecting a recruiter in a gray blazer, maybe a junior HR rep. Instead, she came face to face with a tall man in a dark suit flipping through her resume. "Mr. Caldwell, this is Olivia Bennett," said a woman who stood beside him. Olivia's heart stopped. Ethan Caldwell, CEO of Novacore. One of the most influential figures in the tech world. She wasn't just in the wrong room, she was in a completely different universe. "Thank you, Grace," Ethan said without looking up. "You can leave us." The door shut. Silence settled like a storm cloud. "I think there's been a mistake," Olivia said, voice trembling. "I was told I'd be meeting with HR." "There's no mistake," Ethan said coolly. He placed her resume on the desk and finally looked at her. His eyes darted first to Lily, who clung to Olivia like a koala, then back to Olivia herself, as if he were sizing up something unexpected and interesting. "I personally interview all candidates for our development division." Olivia sat down slowly, her face burning. "I apologize for bringing my daughter. I didn't have anyone to watch her today." "She's fine," Ethan said, gesturing for her to sit. "Let's begin." He leaned back in his chair. "I see excellent academic performance, but no formal experience. Why should I hire you?" Olivia took a breath. "Because I learn faster than anyone you've met, and because I need this job more than anyone out there." He raised an eyebrow. "Need is not a qualification. Need is motivation," she fired back, surprising even herself. "I'll work harder because I can't afford not to. I've got everything riding on this." Lily began fidgeting, so Olivia handed her a small notebook and pencil. The child began drawing quietly. "How old is your daughter?" Ethan asked. 3, and the father. Not in the picture. He paused, reading between the lines. "How would you manage your work here with a child?" "I already do. I study and code when she's asleep. I have a sitter for regular days. Today was the exception, not the rule." Ethan tapped the desk with his pen. "Do you know why I'm interviewing you personally?" "No, sir." Because your coding test was the best we've seen in 6 months, and yet you've never held a job in tech. Just online courses and projects. Olivia blinked, shocked he even reviewed it. I taught myself every line she said. I didn't sleep much. But I learned. Ethan tilted his head, assessing. What if I give you a shot and you fail? I won't, she replied without hesitation. I can't. There was a moment of silence. Then he scribbled something on a notepad. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., you'll take a live test with our development team. If you pass, the job is yours. Olivia's eyes widened. Seriously? But no more kids in the office, he added firmly. Find a permanent solution. I will. Thank you. She stood, Lily's notebook falling to the floor. Ethan picked it up, their fingers brushing for a brief second. A strange spark. Olivia looked away, brushing it off as adrenaline. As she stepped out, he called after her. Miss Bennett, she turned. Don't disappoint me. The next morning, Olivia walked into Novacor with no child in her arms, but the same fire in her chest. The receptionist barely looked at her as she directed her to the Onyx room on the 3rd floor. At the elevator, she ran into Grace. How's Lily? The assistant asked with a warm smile. Safe with my neighbor. Thank you. Before they parted, Grace leaned in and whispered, Ethan never interviews anyone. If he met with you personally, it means he saw something. Olivia tried to smile, but her stomach twisted. Inside the testing room, 5 senior developers stared her down like hawks. She spent 3 hours solving problems, her fingers sweating on the keyboard, her back aching, and her mind racing. When it was over, she waited outside, heart pounding. Minutes passed. Then the door opened. You're in, said the lead developer flatly. Start tomorrow. 8th floor, desk 42. Olivia could barely breathe. For the first time in 3 years, she had a real job. She texted her neighbor. Lily was playing peacefully. It was a good day, but the real test was just beginning. I'm so sorry to interrupt the story here. I truly hate leaving you on such a cliffhanger, but I promise what happens next will surprise you even more. And you? What would you have done if you were in Olivia's shoes? Would you have stayed or walked out with your child? And do you think Ethan Caldwell saw something in Olivia beyond just talent? Comment below and let me know what country you're watching from. If this story moved you even just a little, I'd really appreciate if you hit the like button or dropped a heart. Your support means the world. By the end of her first week at Novacor, Olivia Bennett had already learned one thing: brilliance wasn't enough. Not here. Not in a place where everyone was gunning for the same sliver of recognition. Her cubicle on the 8th floor looked like every other: gray, silent, impersonal. But something about hers felt watched, monitored. Maybe it was the way Victoria Caldwell, a senior developer, and as Olivia would later learn, cousin to Ethan, never missed a chance to critique her work, or how the rest of the team offered tight-lipped nods instead of real camaraderie. On Friday, her manager Martin handed her a folder and said flatly, "Finish this in 3 days." She blinked. "This is a week's worth of work." Martin didn't even look at her. "If you need more time, this may not be the place for you." That night, while others clocked out and grabbed beers, Olivia stayed coding until her eyes burned. She'd promised herself no more failure. At midnight, someone placed a sandwich and coffee on her desk. A woman with curly auburn hair smiled, courtesy of Grace. "I'm Rachel. Don't let them break you. They do this to all the new hires." Olivia could have cried, but she didn't. She worked harder. By Sunday evening, she submitted the completed module 2 days ahead of schedule. No applause, no emails, just silence. But she noticed that the tone shifted. Slowly. The whispers turned into nods. The glances lingered longer. Even Victoria couldn't find fault in her code, though she clearly tried. Then came the message that changed everything. From Ethan Caldwell, subject Project Phoenix, urgent meeting, tomorrow 10 a.m. I need you in the room. Olivia stared at the screen, frozen. Project Phoenix was Novacor's most ambitious initiative, rumored to be worth millions. Only the elite worked on it. Why her? When she arrived at the executive conference room, the most powerful minds at Novacor were already seated. Ethan entered last. The room fell silent. "Last night," he said, "we discovered a breach in Phoenix's security layer. A serious one." He paused, letting the tension tighten. "I've invited Olivia Bennett to join this session. Her prior work on authentication protocols is the closest we've seen to a viable fix. All heads turned. Victoria scoffed. She's been here, what, a month, and you're putting her on Phoenix. She's the only one who identified the exploit before it happened, Ethan replied sharply. Olivia, the floor is yours. Heart hammering, Olivia walked to the whiteboard and somehow taught the experts. 20 minutes, 3 potential solutions. Option 2, Ethan decided. You, Victoria, and Ricardo get it done today. It should have been a moment of triumph, but Olivia's hands shook under the table. She wasn't ready for what came next. Working alongside Victoria was like threading a needle, blindfolded, every move questioned, every line of code dissected. Ricardo tried to mediate, but tension filled every corner of the room. By 7 p.m., Olivia's phone buzzed. Lily's babysitter. She has a fever, asking for you. I gave her medicine, but she's not calming down. She stood. I need to go. My daughter's sick. Victoria didn't hide her disdain. We're in a crisis and you're leaving over a cold. I finished my part, Olivia said, voice clipped. It's documented and ready. As she packed up, Ethan appeared in the doorway. Everything okay? He asked, eyes flicking between her and the tension in the room. Lily has a fever, Olivia explained. Ethan nodded once. Go. We'll take it from here. Victoria rolled her eyes but said nothing. The next morning, Olivia arrived to find a note on her desk. Your solution worked. Full integration complete. General meeting at 10 a.m. for investor prep. EC. She exhaled for the first time in hours, but that peace didn't last. At the presentation, investors filled the main auditorium. Olivia slipped into a back row, satisfied just to have contributed. Ethan stepped on stage with the ease of a man used to commanding attention. As he described the Phoenix breakthrough, Olivia felt a swell of pride until the back doors creaked open. Her heart stopped. Lily, in a sky blue dress and unicorn backpack, sprinted down the aisle. Mommy! The room gasped. The babysitter trailed behind, panting. She slipped away when I was in the restroom. I'm so sorry. Before Olivia could reach her daughter, someone else did. Ethan! He bent down, scooped Lily up in one smooth motion, and whispered something to her. She giggled, touched his tie. It's pretty. A ripple of stunned laughter moved through the crowd. Cameras flashed. Ethan turned to Olivia, calm as ever, and handed Lily over. Someone was looking for you. Flushed with embarrassment, Olivia rushed out with the babysitter. I've ruined everything, she muttered, bracing for disaster. But 20 minutes later, Grace found her near reception, smiling like the world had turned upside down. That was incredible, she said. Investors loved it. They say Ethan showed a side they've never seen before. What, check this? Grace pulled up a social media feed. A photo had already gone viral, Ethan holding Lily with the Novacore logo glowing behind them. Caption, tech with heart. That night, the media exploded. People didn't just like Ethan's presentation. They loved the humanity behind it. Olivia, however, sat on her couch staring at her phone, waiting for the fallout. The next day, she was summoned to Ethan's office. He didn't fire her. Instead, he asked for her permission to use the photo for Novacore's new family initiative. She hesitated, torn between pride and privacy. I'd rather not, she admitted. And for the first time, he smiled, not as a CEO, but as something softer. I respect that. We're so sorry to stop here. But trust me, what's coming next will test everything Olivia thought she knew about safety, loyalty, and love. Let me ask you 2 things while you wait. If you were Olivia, would you have left the Phoenix project early to care for Lily? And what do you think Ethan is really feeling, just admiration or something more? Tell me where in the world you're watching this from. If this story has touched you in any way, please tap that like button or drop a heart. It helps this story reach more people who need a little hope today. 3 years of silence. That's how long it had been since Derek Walsh, the man who abandoned Olivia Bennett when she was pregnant, had spoken a single word to her. And now his voice, sarcastic and venomous, echoed from the phone like a ghost rising from the grave. I saw the photo, he sneered. Cute little family you've built, with the millionaire CEO holding my daughter. Olivia's blood turned cold. What do you want Derek to see my daughter? Tomorrow. No, I'm not asking, he growled. I have rights. She ended the call shaking. That night, Olivia sat on the rooftop of her apartment building, the cold wind biting her skin as memories flooded back. The bruises, the threats, The night she ran 4 months pregnant with nothing but a backpack and a bus ticket. She hadn't told Ethan Caldwell everything, only pieces, only what she could bear to speak aloud. But this wasn't just about her anymore. Derek had crossed a line, and he had to be stopped. The next morning, Olivia sent one message. "I need to talk, urgent," Ethan replied instantly. "My office, 8 a.m. When she arrived, her hands trembled as she placed her phone in front of him. The texts, the threats, the venom. Ethan read in silence, his jaw tightening with each message. "What haven't you told me, Olivia?" She closed her eyes. Then she told him everything. The control, the violence, the fear that kept her silent, the neighbor who helped her escape, the way she never filed charges because she was afraid no one would believe her. Ethan didn't interrupt. When she finished, his eyes burned not with pity, but with something far fiercer. "You're not facing him alone," he said. "Not now, not ever." Within hours, Mark Turner, Novacor's lead attorney, was brought in. Protective orders were filed. Statements were recorded. Old medical records were recovered. The past once buried became evidence. And Ethan made one more call, private security, to guard her building. But Derek wasn't finished. He filed for shared custody in a different county, one where Olivia had no history, no documented abuse, no protection. It was a strategic move, one that could change everything. "Don't panic," Ethan said, pulling her into his arms. "We'll fight this," and they did. In court, Olivia stood tall. Judge Monroe listened carefully as Olivia recounted every dark memory, supported by testimony from her former neighbor Susan Keller and psychological evaluations confirming PTSD from prolonged abuse. Derek didn't stand a chance. The protective order was extended, his petition for custody denied. Outside the courthouse, Olivia wept, not from fear, but from release. Ethan stood beside her, holding her hand as if it were the only thing tethering him to this moment. "You were incredible," he whispered. Weeks passed. Novacor's internal buzz began to quiet. The scandal that never really broke slowly dissolved into admiration. But Olivia knew the rumors. About her and Ethan. About favoritism. And even though she earned her place, the whispers made it impossible to breathe. So she requested a transfer. "I want to move to the innovation department," she told HR Director Luisa Mendoza. "I need space to grow, on my own terms." The request was approved. Olivia flourished. She studied at night, began a certificate in artificial intelligence, and juggled motherhood work and classes with the relentless energy of someone who refused to break. Ethan, true to his word, never hovered. He respected her distance. But at home, he was constant. A bedtime reader, a pancake flipper, a steady hand. And then came the graduation ceremony. As Olivia stood backstage in her black gown, she scanned the crowd and felt her heart sink. Ethan couldn't make it. An urgent meeting with European investors had kept him tied up. But just as her name was called, someone near the back of the auditorium shifted. Olivia turned, and there he was. Ethan in a sharp suit, with Lily bouncing on his knee, waving furiously. She choked back a sob as she crossed the stage. The applause rang out, but all she heard was the sound of Lily's little voice shouting, "Mommy, you did it!" Later, they found each other in the crowd. Lily ran into her arms. "You look like a queen," the child said proudly. "She was a queen," Ethan added softly, slipping his arm around Olivia's waist. That night, he handed her a small box. "It's not what you think," he said with a smirk. Inside wasn't a ring, but a key. "A house," he explained, "in Kirkland. 3 bedrooms, a garden. It's in all our names. You, me, and Lily." Olivia stared at him. "Are you asking us to move in with you?" "No," he replied. "I'm asking us to start something new, together." Weeks later, their life was quieter, slower, but richer than ever. Olivia continued working in innovation. Lily started preschool. Ethan rearranged his schedule for family dinners. And one ordinary night, while doing flashcards at the kitchen table, Olivia paused and smiled. "We're not perfect," she said, "but this feels real." "It is," Ethan said. "Real, messy, ours." And when Lily drew a picture of the 3 of them, stick figures labeled "Mommy, me, and Evan" with a big heart around them, Olivia knew. They weren't a fairy tale. They were something better. Before we close this chapter, I have to ask, if you were Olivia, would you have trusted Ethan to stand by your side after everything? And do you think the decision to move away from her boss's shadow made her stronger, or was love enough? Tell me what you thought of this story. Comment no 3 if you loved it. No 2 if it felt just okay, or no 1 if it didn't quite connect. I'd love to know what country you're watching from. And if you felt this story touched your heart, please drop a heart and share it with someone who needs hope today.